Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a large winter storm that's about to unleash a lot more problems than we initially thought, with the threat for upwards of 8 to 12 inches of snow in much of the Northeast. The threat for ice accumulation is now in play across parts of the mid-Atlantic region, and as well as a big cool down. And we're also going to be mentioning the bigger winter storm that is possible as we go into early next week across the Central Plains and through the Midwest. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. And before we go into the specific details of these winter storms, I do want to preface that there's going to be a lot of snow over the next few weeks. Winter's really about to ramp up. There's a chance for an Arctic blast as we go into next weekend, so not this weekend, but next weekend. And we're also going to be watching for lots of snowfall. And notice the European model across the entire country showing a good potential of a lot of snowfall stretching from the Pacific Northwest, even into parts of the southern plains like Oklahoma, Arkansas, and the Texas Panhandle, and back into the Northeast, giving you an idea of just basically how much snow is coming here across the United States. And honestly, I'd be shocked if you don't see any snow if you're in like the upper Midwest or the northern or central plains or in the Northeast. If you don't see any snow over the next 10 to 14 days, it's going to be a bit of a rarity because most areas will definitely see snow. All right, let's talk more about what's upcoming here over the United States over the next 10 to 14 days. And we're really going to nail down, though, the two winter storms that are coming over the next 5 to 7 days, because these will definitely be very impactful, bringing the potential for snow, ice, cool downs, as well as heavy rainfall. There'll also be a chance for some severe weather, and I'll be talking about that here in just a second. So beginning with this first winter storm, not a winter storm as we speak, but it will be as we go into tomorrow night across the Northeast and as well as maybe even the mid-Atlantic region, where there could be some ice accumulation. Right now, there is some light to moderate snowfall across Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri this morning. That will start to diminish as we go into the afternoon hours, with maybe a little bit of light snowfall remaining as this continues to move to the northeast toward Illinois and as well as Indiana. Once we go into Saturday morning, we are going to be watching multiple different aspects of this entire storm. That includes the potential for ice accumulation. It includes heavy snowfall that'll lead to 8 to 12 inches of snow in some areas. And there's also another part of this that is going to take a bit of a turn, and there's actually going to be a chance for some isolated severe weather in Florida as we go into tomorrow, and that'll be including central Florida with some isolated damaging winds being possible. And notice with this storm, we have multiple aspects. All right, so the main component is going to be obviously across the mid-Atlantic region, so South Carolina, North Carolina, back through Virginia, and the Ohio Valley. That's where the rain will be falling, like the heaviest of the rain, and as well as the snow. But notice back up here to the north, there's also another area of snow that'll be ongoing in the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes. This by no means is a winter storm, but there will be a little bit of flurry action, maybe some light snow along with that might lead to an inch or two of snow. So just keep that in mind. It looks like a much larger area of snowfall than this storm overall, but the storm that we're talking about on the East Coast is going to be obviously much stronger, much lower pressure center, and also a lot more moisture to work with. Just the perfect setup, really, more than anything. And also back down here to the south and east, back down in Florida, that is where there's actually the threat for some isolated severe weather. So if you're back down in central Florida, be mindful some isolated damaging winds are possible. Going into Saturday afternoon and evening, we'll be watching this threat again for a winter storm across Pennsylvania through New York. This will be moving toward New England as well as we go into Saturday night and a Sunday morning. Notice showers and storms right along the East Coast. And again, we'll be watching for the threat of ice, and I'll be talking about that here more in detail in a second. Then once we go through Sunday, this impacts the New England area and as well as New York. And as we go into Monday, this starts to clear out, and that'll allow for our next very large storm in the United States, the central and southern plains under the gun for the threat of a very large storm. And with that being said, a very large storm doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be super impactful, but in this case, we're going to have everything. That includes severe weather. That'll also include the threat of a winter storm, perhaps even a blizzard, and we'll also be watching for other things like a large cool down behind this as well. Notice as we go throughout Monday, though, we're going to be watching multiple areas. The threat for a blizzard and heavy snowfall will exist across Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. There will also be a mixture there across Kansas and northern Missouri. And then back down here to the south, we're going to be looking at showers and storms. Severe weather will be possible right along the Gulf Coast as we go throughout the day Monday and as well as into Tuesday in the southeast, including Georgia, Florida, perhaps Alabama, and South Carolina as well. What we also have to watch for as this moves off to the north and east is exactly where it tracks. The GFS and the European model have been shifting very slightly with where this low pressure system goes, and the further west and north it goes, the less impactful it will be to areas over in like the Ohio Valley with snow, for example. But if you're back over here, for example, and this goes more to the east, going toward Ohio, there will be more snowfall for those in the Midwest in comparison to a more westerly track. So those little details over the next few days are going to be crucial to where the snow falls. The European model in the latest run is indicating snowfall across much of the Midwest as we go into Tuesday morning, but it does not show it nearly as heavy as it has, and it actually shows a bit more of a warm core system, which would mean that we'd have warmer air basically over the Midwest during Tuesday afternoon, which would lead to less snow overall. So these are key details that we really have to see and how they work out over the next few days, and then we'll have a better forecast for you. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we will keep you posted with the latest on this storm as well. Now let's talk more about the timing of this winter storm, beginning with the mid-Atlantic, and then we'll go to the Northeast. So notice as we go throughout the day, Friday, things stay pretty dry. Saturday morning is when things get quite interesting because we're going to basically have multiple components to the system. Again, we'll have some freezing rain ongoing across areas in western North Carolina and right there in southern as well as southwestern parts of Virginia. This is key because this will lead to ice accumulation in some areas, and this will start to stretch further up to the north as we go later into the morning Saturday and into the early afternoon. So we'll be watching for the threat of some ice accumulation across parts of western Virginia and perhaps even as far north as southeast Pennsylvania. It should remain pretty isolated overall, especially the further north you go, but it is something you want to make sure you're keeping in mind. Notice there will also be some snow. The main area of snow will be across the Ohio Valley. Not really a whole lot out of this. It's going to be pretty light, maybe moderate if you're back down in southern Ohio, so there'll be a bit more snow then. Notice as we go throughout the day Saturday, so close to lunchtime, snow is ongoing across Pennsylvania, parts of western Virginia, rain snow mix, and maybe even a little bit of sleet across parts of Virginia and back into parts of the DC area. And as we go into the late afternoon into the evening hours, we're going to start to see that snow move all the way up to the north and east. Rain is going to be dominating across central and southern New Jersey, back into Delaware and Maryland. On the flip side, again, snow will be falling north of that across areas like New York City and as well as back through New Jersey. There is a big question mark whether New York City will actually see snow. I do think there will be some snow, but I don't think it's going to accumulate anything too dramatically. In terms of ice accumulation, again, the main area to be watching for ice will be across areas in western North Carolina, back through southern, central, and western parts of Virginia, and as well as parts of southern Pennsylvania. Those will be the areas to watch for some ice accumulation, but again, I think it's going to be very, very isolated, and it probably will not cause many travel impacts if you're back up near DC. The area to watch for the potential for some isolated power outages will be here in southern and southwest Virginia, so keep that in mind. This is the main area for ice accumulation as we go into Saturday. Now in the Northeast, much different story. We're not talking about ice up here. We're instead talking about a lot of snowfall. Saturday night to Sunday morning will be the peak of the heaviest of the snowfall. One key thing we need to watch is where the warm air basically will stop going inland. That'll determine where the rain snow line is. I think that's going to be right near the coastline, and what we're going to be talking about is heavy snowfall across New York, New Hampshire, as well as Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. Southern Rhode Island and Connecticut, a bit of a lower chance overall of very heavy snow leading to a lot of accumulation. I think it'll be a bit more slushy. And then back over in Cape Cod, I also think it'll be a very slushy snow if you even see that much of any snow. Once we go to Sunday evening, a little bit of snowfall continues, but overall it will continue to get lighter as we go throughout the day on Sunday. Now in terms of the overall probabilities of you seeing greater than 4 inches of snowfall, it's actually quite a high probability if you're in eastern Pennsylvania. Right now the European model indicating around 100% chance actually across southern New York and as well as eastern Pennsylvania, and then even higher probabilities across Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, upwards of 100%. Again, right along the coastline, it's a lot more uncertain just due to the fact we don't really know how far north that warm air will go inland across parts of southern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Cape Cod. In terms of snowfall totals, the European model indicating a widespread 4 to 8 inches of snow stretching from Pennsylvania back into the New England area, but again, the areas to watch for upwards of 8 to 12 inches of snow, perhaps even a little bit more than that, will include areas from northeast Pennsylvania back into southeast New York, and as well as going into areas in southern New Hampshire and as well as southern Vermont. Notice New York City right now not expecting much of any snow, maybe a coating. I think it's going to be more rain than anything for that area, but there will probably at least be a mixture of rain and snow for quite a while. But again, it probably will not accumulate too much overall in New York City. Thank you so much for watching this forecast. I did want to point out that I've been talking a lot quieter in this forecast because my voice, I'm actually kind of losing it, so I wanted to make sure I got this video done before I actually potentially lose my voice. So I just want to throw that out there. Thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below.